Hi, friends. I'm Rebecca Faust, and this is What We Don't Say, where we have honest conversations about fear, patterns, growth, what it looks like to reconnect with yourself. In other words, all the things we experience but don't typically say out loud. I'm so glad you're here. Let's dive in. I want to start this podcast with something I think a lot more women feel or experience than they really talk about. You can love your life and still feel like something is off. You can be so grateful for all that you have while still feeling overwhelmed. You can be successful, super successful, and still feel disconnected, exhausted, or quietly unfulfilled. And if you have ever felt that way, this episode is for you. I wanted to start this podcast off with this topic because it is so near and dear to my heart. As before I hired a coach, this was absolutely 1000% true for me. On paper, I had a really good life. I had a career I had worked hard for. I was in the job that, as a little analyst, I had looked at and thought, ooh, that looks really sexy and fun. I want that. I had achieved it and I liked it. I had a team I genuinely adored. I had a boss I respected, who mentored me, who advocated for me, who gave me the hard truth about where I needed to improve and supported my growth. I had a relationship I was deeply grateful for, one I honestly hadn't thought I would ever find. I had amazing friends, my health, I had stability. I had a lot, if not all, of the things I had once wanted. And yet, still, something felt off. And for me, it showed up in different ways. One way was that I kept caveating things with quote unquote, as much as finance can. My job was fun and meaningful, as much as finance can be. My job was sexy, as much as finance can be. I was impacting people as much as anyone in finance can. And I started noticing that. I also noticed I'd be on the phone with peers and they could talk for hours about the project, the numbers, the budget, the reporting, the spreadsheets. They just had this passion and excitement for it. They were geeking out constantly. And I just wasn't. I cared, I did good work, I was excellent at my job, but I didn't have that same level of passion or excitement for the numbers. Another way it showed up was when I realized that feeling stressed out had become my norm. I expected to feel stressed. And if I didn't feel stressed, I wondered what was wrong. What have I forgotten? What was I missing? Was I doing enough? How many nights did I stay awake because I wasn't stressed about the day? And so I assumed I had forgotten something very important and likely very urgent. Many, many nights. And again, I didn't feel this way because my life was bad. It was good. I didn't feel this way because I was unhappy all the time. I wasn't. I was mostly fairly happy. But I felt heavier than I thought I should. I felt less fulfilled than I thought I should, less joyful than I thought I should, given everything I had achieved and everything I was surrounded by. So if you're feeling this way, I see you. I understand. This is not easy to be in this place. And one of the hardest parts was that for me was that not only was I feeling this way, I was judging the heck out of myself for it. I kept thinking, does this mean I'm ungrateful for all that I have? Will I ever be satisfied? Why can't I just appreciate what I have and be happy? Why does it feel like nothing is ever enough? And that inner judgment was almost harder than what I was actually feeling. Because you know this, when you're doing something hard, whether it's at work, in your marriage, parenting, in your business, the gym, whatever. If someone is shaming you, criticizing you, or beating you up for not doing it better or faster, it does not make the thing easier. It makes it harder. And yet, so many of us do that to ourselves all day long. I was certainly doing this. Since I was in this experience, because as I said, it was before I had hired a coach. So since then, I have seen this in my own life. obviously, in coaching my clients and in so many high achieving, over giving women, my colleagues, my friends, my co-coaches, women who look like they are absolutely killing it from the outside. So I know that this is incredibly common. A lot of us have gotten really good at surviving by becoming really competent. We achieve, we carry, we overfunction. We anticipate everybody else's needs, the family, the kids, the parents, the dogs, the partner, the boss, the team. We keep everything going. We do the responsible thing. We do what we said we would, and we become really good at handling a lot. From the outside, again, it can look like we are doing great. Has anyone ever said to you, "How do you do it all?" It's a key sign. But internally, most of the time, we're tired. We're disconnected. We don't even know what we want anymore. We're so busy going to the next thing, we don't take or make the time to ask us if that next thing is actually what we want or if it serves us. Does it serve our family? Does it light us up? We often feel guilty resting because there's so much that needs to get done. We snap at people we love, typically wondering where that came from because it seems to have come out of nowhere. And often, because we don't know what we want, we say, "I don't know," when someone asks us, "What do we want? What's our preference? What do we think? What do we believe? What do we want next?" And I want to be really clear. This does not mean that something is broken. It does not mean you are broken. It does not mean your life is broken. It does not mean you're a broken mother, spouse, employee, leader, friend, or human. All it means is there's something that may need your attention. When I was in this, one of the biggest shifts for me was realizing that two things can absolutely be true. Now, I could see this in other areas. I could see that I can love my husband deeply and he can still drive me up a wall. I know that I can both adore my pups and want to kick them outside for a few days. I could see it in certain places, but in this experience that was deeply affecting me, I could not see it. I couldn't see that I could appreciate my life and still want something to change. I could love my work, be good at my work, and still wonder if something felt or was misaligned. I could deeply care about people and still feel absolutely exhausted. I could feel grateful for my family, my job, my life, and still feel heavy, unsatisfied, or unfulfilled. And that was the big thing for me, having those two things be true and realizing it didn't make me selfish. It didn't make me ungrateful. It didn't make me broken. And it did not make me a bad person. Because let's be honest, that's what so many of us are afraid of. That if we admit the thing we're feeling, wanting, questioning, resenting often, it means something bad about us. It means we're selfish or ungrateful or too much or not enough or we'll be kicked out of the tribe. But realizing that two things could be true helped me see and internalize for myself that I wasn't bad. I was not a bad person. I was just human. And that shift mattered because it helped me stop beating myself up and start noticing. Because as we all know, when I was judging myself, I was spending all my energy there, judging being in this place, pushing it away, making myself wrong, constantly asking myself, why do I feel this way? What is wrong with me? I shouldn't feel this way. And as long as I was asking those questions, I couldn't ask better ones. Questions like, am I burnt out? Am I carrying too much? I see you carrying too much. Am I craving something different? Am I disconnected from myself or some part of myself? And what might this heaviness or unsatisfied or unfulfilled feeling be trying to actually tell me? That is where the change started. So if any of this resonates with you, I really want to invite you to ask yourself, what am I judging myself for feeling? Where do I feel this heaviness or dissatisfaction or disconnection right now in my life? And most importantly, but hardest, can I give myself permission, even just for today, to these two things be true? That I am grateful and I still want change. Can I let it be true that I love my life and still feel something is off? Can I let both be true and stop making myself wrong long enough to just pay attention? Maybe you don't put the beating stick down forever. Maybe today is not the day you magically stop judging yourself and become 100% of the time only curious and compassionate. Wouldn't that be awesome? But maybe you can put it down for an hour, or the rest of the day, or a few minutes, or a week. Maybe you're able to practice letting these two things be true and see what happens. My hope for this podcast, this episode, is simple. I want this to become a place where you feel a little less alone. I want you to know that you are special and unique and fabulous. And also, you are not a unicorn, my friend. So many people are feeling the things that you are feeling, thinking the things that you are thinking, moving through things they don't always know how to say out loud. And ideally, this will be a place where we do say them. We'll talk about survival mechanisms and boundaries, emotional health. We'll talk about ambition, identity, grief, stress. We'll talk about people pleasing. I see y'all. Relationships, courage, and what it looks like to reconnect with yourself. Most of all, I hope you leave each episode feeling a little lighter, a little more understood, a little more hopeful about what is possible for you, because more is possible. More joy is possible, more fulfillment is possible, more honesty is possible. I promise you. And it's not possible because you need to become someone else, but because you are allowed to become more honest with yourself and lean into yourself more. I'm so thrilled that you're here, friends. I can't wait to see you next time. Take care. Be well. See you later.